Welcome to the Futures Edition. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Tom.
I'm Kim.
And we are three old Reds fans coming to you from Studio 82, just down the street from our good friends at Beans in the heart of Cedarville, the birthplace and final resting place of Bumpus Jones. But we're not here today to just talk about the past. We will, of course, look back, as we always do, at some interesting things. But what of the future of the Reds? What players will fill in the gaps this team has to fill to be a contender? The near future, for sure, isn't much to look forward to aside from those interesting September call-ups that we were kind of hoping for or might like to see. But let's look a little farther ahead. Who are the players who will be added to our future conversations in the next couple of years? Before that, though, if you recall, 2 weeks ago, I said, guys, the Reds had won like 2 games in 2.5 weeks after the All-Star break, right? One like 2-14. They had won the day before on that Sunday, so I'm counting that day.
The Marlins, right?
Because that was the day I'm like, okay, we're going to get this back. We're going to be a decent team now. We're going to get out of this funk. And I said, guys, we're going to get out of the funk? And what did you say?
No.
What did I say?
Yes.
Yes. Including that Sunday, we are now 8-7 since then.
Okay, wait. So you're saying 8-7 is something to celebrate?
No, but it's not 2-14. I said I get out of
What
that
are
bad
your standards?
funk.
Where are your standards?
Oh.
You forgot the glory days of the Big Red.
That's
I
right.
did not. I just said they're going to get out of this horrible funk and play some decent baseball. They played decent baseball.
Decent?
Decent.
That's all you want is decent?
No, I want more than that, but it's a start. Oh.
Are you two talking about LeBron again?
Like at the ball game, the Dragons game.
Don't go there.
We're not going
You
there.
almost made that woman leave her seat.
We're not going
We
there.
got everybody mad at us.
Well, I wanted to put my feet up over the back of the seat, so I was trying to get her out of there. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so that's that. So
I have to say, Jeff, when we talked a week or two ago about like what we still wanted to see in the rest of the season, I did not expect it to be Scooter Gennett pitching.
I was asleep last night. I was long into La La Land. when
Although
that happened.
I have to say, I don't think any of us would have said we wanted to see Scooter Gennett pitch.
No.
It was like a train wreck
So
happening in front
what
of me.
happened? I haven't even had a chance to look today. What
They
happened?
just plain ran out of pitchers. Put him in for the last inning. He was serious about it. I mean, he's stone faced. When he's throwing balls, he's dropping an F-bomb as he catches the ball because he's mad because he was throwing a ball.
Oh my gosh!
So he was serious about it. He also was throwing across his body. He was stepping towards third base and then throwing across.
Yeah.
Sidearm. He was doing sidearm.
Well, what?
He walked the first batter.
Okay.
Second guy hit a jack off of him.
So he fits right in.
That was his first.
Well, he can
second-
pitch for
balls
us.
and long ball.
So he's in
watching the other
contention.
guys.
He's in contention for the starting lineup now.
So-
Starting pitching.
Did he end up getting out of the inning?
Yeah, he got
Yeah.
out of it.
You know, he did something today that only one other player in Major League Baseball history has done.
Here we go.
Only one other Major League Baseball player has pitched, and on the day he's pitched, hit his 20th home run of the season.
There's been another player?
There's been another player.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
Who else would it be? I mean,
Exactly. It makes sense. Babe Ruth. So he and Babe Ruth,
how do you even know that stat?
I looked on Twitter.
I think you made it up.
No, this one I didn't make it. Someone else made
Somebody
it up.
else might have made it up, but he saw it.
Well, I actually thought about him pitching. I wonder how many positions he's going to end up playing this year. Because, he's played second, right field. Has he
Third
played
base.
third base?
I don't think he's played left. Well, he's probably played
Did he
left
play
field a
center
little bit.
one night?
No, but I know he's played left. He's played
Yeah.
filled in for Duvall.
He's
Okay.
funny, though. You were talking about that interview.
So what was the interview like? You saw an interview?
I just saw it on a video feed, just how serious he was, and they were asking about his pitches and his sidearm curve, and he just very, deadpan to, I think I was up to about 95, 96, and someone said 64, and he just said fake news. And that he's ready to go today. He doesn't need ice down. He's ready to go if Brian Price needs him. So just a great interview.
Just playing along.
then
That's
he hit
fine.
it. Then he hit a guy. Then somebody hit a ball to somebody, and they boot. It was ugly. The whole inning was, like I said, it was like a train wreck. But you had to keep watching for some reason.
Yeah.
Now, the best
What'd you
part,
do? What were you doing up that late?
I don't know. I usually
You're
am
never
not.
up that
the
late.
best part of the game, I don't know if you've seen the replay. A hard foul ball by a Cubby and it hits on the first base side and comes out towards Joey. Did you see this?
I saw it.
Joey runs towards
Kim
the
is
ball,
now standing in the
runs
room
towards the ball,
explaining this to us.
quickly gloves it, comes like this real quick, and the last second lobs it, probably about 20 to 30 rows up.
I
But
saw
he
the last
charged
part of
ball
that.
hard,
I think it's right when I turned it on.
and he walks back, and then they showed a different camera angle, and the umpire's just sitting there cracking up.
Yeah, I
and
saw
Joey's
the
talking
tail
to
end of
him.
that.
He likes to mess with it.
And you just want to say, don't change, Joey. From stomping on a paper airplane to going like this, throwing the ball in the stands, and then stops and gives it back to the umpire or something like that. He has fun.
And getting on base. So what's this thing about him getting on base twice? This like
I don't know how you don't know it.
this whole stat, this like record that like
You don't like stats, do you?
I do, but it's like this record nobody knows about.
It's not a
Until
sabermetric, so he's
until
not
somebody
familiar
gets
with it.
ready to break it, nobody knows about it. I just think find that interesting.
It's GOB, G-O-B, getting on base.
Gob. He does it a gob.
He sure does.
So, Tom, what is it, 19 games in a row now that he has been on base multiple times by hits, walks, hit by pitches. I don't think he's been on by catcher interference or striking out on strike 3 and getting base. But
Well,
the
those
first
probably wouldn't
3
count toward
hits,
on-base
walks, and
percentage,
hit
yeah.
by pitch.
Well, and he had the 17-game hitting streak that broke, but even though it broke, he still got on base twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he walked twice.
So right now, only Ted Williams and Tom, what year?
1948.
1940. Is that the year the Indians won the World Series?
I believe so.
So 1948, and then we have Barry Bonds and Pete Rose when he was a member of
Phillies.
the Philadelphia Phillies.
In how many games?
Pete's, I think, one up on him.
20.
Pete and Barry, they're at 20.
And Ted, the
Ted's at
splendid
21.
splinter, at
And
21.
right now, Joey's at 9. Even against a USSSA outfield.
Oh yeah, did you see that play last night? They put the 4 outfielder and he doubled down the line.
I commented that on Twitter, and that's like a USSSA outfield.
It is.
It totally
Well,
Did
they
you
also
see where
did-
the third baseman was playing? Not only was he playing in the 6 hole, he was playing on the lip of the grass.
I
I'm like,
know.
man,
It was
Madden
weird.
is maddening.
Yes.
Well, they also did a piece pregame last night on how good is Joey Votto, and how McCoy talked, Marty Brenneman. They have Bronson Roy on there, which I'm not sure why. Just
Well,
because
he's
been
seen a
around
lot of
long enough.
he's seen a lot of hitters.
Bronson said he could easily play till he's 43, 44. He thinks Votto can because, he just keeps himself in shape and he plays first base. And Marty Brenneman had a pretty big statement saying he thinks he's the greatest Reds hitter he's ever seen. And, of course, he talked about Peter Edward Rose as well.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
So they said about 43, 44 by playing first base. So, Tom, if there were a DH rule that he could use, how long do you think he
Probably
could
play forever because really, DH, you're not really a ball player.
No, you're not.
You know, I was looking up. I was in my office today, going through some of my old files. I was looking for something, and I came across a column I wrote in the first newspaper I worked at, a little newspaper I worked at in Virginia, 1991. I'd totally forgotten. I should bring it to you. You probably don't want to read it because you
No, I
want.
like.
And the column was about, and I didn't take time to read down through it yet. It's sitting on my desk. The column was about why the NL needs the DH.
And as you were reading
In
it, you were going, yeah, this is,
1991.
I agree with everything this guy said.
I mean, it was,
Did the
know.
paper
So I
keep
didn't
you?
just make that up lately.
Did they
I've
keep
been,
you
I've been
at all
there.
after you wrote that? I mean,
I got a
you
raise.
have to find a new job?
Okay. So, future. The Fangraphs came out with a preseason list looking ahead. Who are the Reds' top 10 prospects going forward? So, who's number 1 on the list?
Going forward, and this does not include current
It has to include
ball
current, right?
players.
Yeah.
The two that you mentioned.
It includes, there's 2 guys on the Reds playing on the Reds roster right now, and the other 8 are in the minor leagues.
I would guess that the number 1 is not on the Reds roster right now. I would say that's Senzel.
He's number 2.
Oh,
I'd say either Winker or Castillo. Winker.
Who did we just draft?
Hunter
Green.
Green.
Hunter Green is listed as the number 1 prospect. And what did he do last night? 4 for 7 in
I believe, if I remember correctly, 4 for 7 in a 12 inning. I think that's right. 12 inning, 17-14 victory. He had 2 doubles.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah.
Hopefully he didn't pitch in that game. It was 17 to 14.
I don't think he's pitched yet. The game plan is for him to pitch his first start late August.
Late August, right?
And I would guess Senzel. I mean, he's just been hitting the cover off the ball.
Yeah. So
They got to move him up.
with power even. With
So
more
we
power.
got Green, Senzel, number 2, playing at Pensacola. Number 3, playing in Dayton, who else? I'm going there tonight to watch the Dragons. Taylor Trammell.
Huh.
Number 4, Tyler Mahle, pitching in Louisville. Number 5, Luis Castillo, who's now pitching for the Reds. Number 6, Jesse Winker. Number 7, Shed Long, second baseman, Pensacola. He's a little 5'8" guy, but he hits for good power. He was a catcher coming up, and when he came into pro ball, and he sort of starts slow every time he moves up, but he's hitting the ball well now. Number 8 is Tyler Stevenson, a catcher in Dayton.
Injured,
Made the All-Star team, and then he tore a ligament in his right thumb, so he's out for the season. But he was really having a really good year. Last year, he played a lot. He was hurt off and on and never really got going, but he really showed that he could hit this year. Number 9 is Aristides Aquino. Is an outfielder in Pensacola. He played in Dayton before. Was hurt a lot. I saw this guy play. When you see him play and move on the field, you're like, wow, this guy's an athlete. This guy looks like a major leaguer, a pro athlete, period. He's hitting for power, low average. He's hitting like 210, but he's, close to 20 homers, I think, and so forth. And then the 10th guy on the list is Alfredo Rodriguez, who's a shortstop in Daytona. He played last year in the Dominican Summer League. Played really well, and they sent him right to Daytona to High A. So he's a shortstop. So those are the 10 guys. What I thought we could talk about were some of the guys who are the most, the guys who are going to help us sooner than later.
Well, what I think is interesting is Castillo is proving himself. He's a major league pitcher,
Yeah,
right? And yet he's number what on that list?
he's number 5.
So it's kind of interesting that he's already proven he's not really as much of a prospect as he is is he a proven commodity? Can we say that much about him?
I don't know if I'd say proven, but I would say he's about as good as we've got.
Well, he's as best we've had. Yeah, his numbers as a starter are better than anybody else on the team this year.
Right.
So
fastball.
in 10 starts, 16 and a third innings, so he's getting 6 innings a start.
Does he have 6 quality starts, Jeff?
I didn't see that
I think
number.
he has 6.
Probably. 3.73 ERA, which is by far the best for a starter in starting roles on the team. Batting average of balls in plays at 255, which is second on the team, and a lot of guys are up over 300 in this rotation, so it's a pretty good number for him. Yeah, he's got elite velocity, and that changeup dives.
Change is nice.
The changeup really dives.
He's 24 years old.
Right.
So.
The things you read about him are they'd like to see a better breaking ball to really be, does he need a breaking ball to do that? One interesting number through the StatCast stuff. Nobody who's recorded at least 200 four-seamers this year throws the ball as hard as he does. So, Tom, can you explain the difference between a four-seamer and a two-seamer?
Yeah, a four-seamer, because you have more seams breaking the wind as the ball's thrown.
Is it how you hold it?
Yeah, it's the way you start holding the ball.
holding the ball, right.
And because there's more seams that break the wind as it goes, it tends to rise on you more, and you get a little bit better velocity with it.
Okay.
But if you want the ball, like if you're throwing low and outside to a right-handed batter, you'd throw a two-seam, because a two-seam tends to sink on you a little bit.
Okay. All right. So what they're saying is his four-seamer is pretty straight. He throws it 55% of the time. He throws his change 22% of the time. Slider 14, sinker 9%. So what they're saying is the fastball doesn't really ride a lot. Has some decent horizontal movement. His ground ball rate is up from what it was in the minors, though. It's like 58%, which is definitely the highest on the team. So he's come somewhere in there. So I guess the theory is a little more, some more two-seamers. Are two-seamers harder to command?
It can be.
Yeah, and I think they probably are for him. And so if he can have more effective sinker with a two-seamer and so forth, the theory is that could get him to that ace level. Maybe he'd be that starting opening day starter type guy.
I mean, right now he's our opening day starter.
Probably, he could be.
Who else would be? Right?
Well, I mean, just if you want to experience it, it'd be Homer. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But, Homer's not.
He's not earning it.
He's not earning it. I would agree with that. I thought he looked like he was starting to.
Yeah.
I mean, Price is going to make that decision in the spring. He didn't have to make that decision yet, so he's not going to make it yet. You like Castillo, Kim?
By far, yes. What's impressed me is I was at the Arizona game where they got shellacked, and he did not have his best stuff, and he only gave up like 3 runs in 5-6 innings. I say only, but again, he did not have his best stuff.
Yeah, no other starters were able to do that.
In the first 2 or 3 innings, he only had like 2 strikeouts. The last 2 or 3 innings, he had about 5. He just got stronger. He stayed. You said it. The maturity shows on the mound. He stays composed. We just don't have that with anyone else.
Sal Romano, I don't think is going to be bad, but he's a mess on the mound. He's just lost out there.
He last night, what was it? How many times have we seen Reds pitchers? Now there was 2 outs, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about we had an 0-2 count, and Tucker was low and outside on the on with the glove station
for Wojo,
and they show the replay where Tucker came up from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock to go to catch the ball because it was right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah, that's Wojo.
Smack home run.
Yeah. I don't have much hope for Wojo.
You don't, and I'm sitting there watching. My wife said, "Wow," and I said, "You just don't give a hitter an 0-2 pitch. You make him chase it."
Yeah, nothing like that.
And so that's been frustrating for me. Now, I'm a little bit more bigger on a guy that Tom's not, Stevenson. Let me tell you why. He had a rough start in the minors. Manager Delino DeShields was not big on him because he was not listening. He was not taking to coaching. Came up, sat 13 days without pitching, got into a game and got shellacked. Sent him down for a couple of months, and the reports were that he was beginning to work on things. And the other day against Milwaukee, all right, so he's been hurt, diving for that ball against Pittsburgh. Came in 2 innings, a hit batsman, and either 3 or 4 strikeouts. Maybe 1 hit he gave up. And the start that he got injured in Pittsburgh had us in the game. Mm-hmm. And so I see progress there with him than I've seen with others except for
I just don't think I've seen him enough to feel that.
Yeah. Well, he's a guy who would have been on this top 10 list the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And he's earned his way off of it. Now he's got to earn his way back on it.
I guess what I'm encouraged about is Delino DeShields talking about how he's becoming more teachable.
Yeah, and you hope that.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that has the tools, though. I mean, he's got that good fastball. Romano's got the good fastball. Castillo's got that good fastball.
Yeah, I would have to say though that this season was a big part of this season was supposed to be about figuring out who our starting pitchers are, and it's been a pretty big failure. I mean, Castillo is the only thing that's happened in sort of bringing along guys where you feel like, okay, here's a guy I think that we feel like we can put in a rotation next year. The rest of it, it's still
you're going to go into spring training.
It's as up in the air as it was when the season started.
Yeah, that's awful.
You think we got to go out and get some sort of starting pitcher off the free agent market.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
I mean, even the Cubs got some dude from the White Sox that was just...
Oh, that's the guy who pitched last night.
Right, just an average guy.
Yeah.
And that was the best they could find.
Right.
Can I bring up, since you're talking about these prospects...
You can bring up whatever you want.
Senzel, okay? He's looking like a top prospect for sure, right?
Right.
Where do you put him? What are we going to do with him?
Well, I don't know. Move somebody to shortstop.
We talked about that last week. Suarez has improved so much at third. We talked about the Tennessee manager saying,
right?
Let me say the University of Tennessee, where he played, manager saying, put him at short. In his freshman year, he played mostly DH, but made 8 starts at second base. So, do you put him at second base?
Peraza at short. I mean, Peraza has had a couple of rough games at short, but he hadn't played it much, so we can give him a little benefit of the doubt.
But all right, let's say Peraza at short, and Peraza has shown signs of discipline lately, and it's showing up in his plays. Walking more. Mm-hmm. He's not hitting the ball with power, but he's making contact. He's not swinging. He's not making outs on 4 pitches.
Right.
And so there was an article where I read that he will get better at shortstop. There's a lot of deficiencies he has.
But they're not playing him at short.
not right now, but let's say that they don't re-sign Zach. Okay, you know what Jose Peraza will be doing this winter. You know what he'll be doing in the spring, possibly if they put him there. Or do you put him at second base and put Senzel at shortstop? And we talked about that, saying, do you want a rookie to be at shortstop in the majors?
Well, Peraza in the last 14 days, 35 plate appearances, batting .355, 429 on base, 816 OPS, a 366 WOBA, as we talked about last week, which is a really good number. It's not Votto, but we're not. If we got one Votto, we're not going to have another one, right? Some other good numbers: 3 walks and only 3 strikeouts. And
Wow.
3 walks isn't a lot, but it's more than he was getting.
Yeah.
So that you see his on base percentage being 45, 65, almost 70 points higher than his batting average.
We wish Billy could do that.
Yeah, exactly. And Billy's slumping again. He's hitting like 205 the last 2 weeks or something like that. And Senzel, as you mentioned, in Double-A Pensacola, he's hitting 348. He's had 184 bats since he went there. He's hitting 348. His on base is 400. His OPS is 976. He's hit 9 homers, 31 RBIs. For the whole year, he's played in 100. Well, he's played in his career now because he came to Dayton last year after they signed him and drafted him. In 178 minor league games, he's hit 20 homers and he's got 102 RBIs. He's batting .316. His OPS is over 900. So, yeah, I mean, the guy is legit.
There's a reason he was the number 2 pick overall last year.
Absolutely, and he has shown it from day one. I think I was there, saw a couple of the first games he played, and I mean he's a guy that looks like a major leaguer. I mean, just when you see him move, the way you see how hard he hits the ball, it's an obvious thing. So those are 2 guys that we've sort of really talked about that fitting in there. I'm gonna go back to the pitcher. Mahle's the other guy. Solid stuff. Really good command. Probably on the plus side of that of most guys. Saw him pitch there a couple years ago too, and was impressed. And Dick Schofield was the manager there, and I would always ask Dick when I was covering games, about the pitchers, like, what do you think of that guy? And he was honest about it. He would say, of course, it doesn't matter what I think. It's what the organization kind of thinks. But he was like, Mahle is a big league pitcher. He says, I can tell that guy's going to make it. I can tell he's going to make it.
You think they'll call him up when they expand the roster?
I don't know. It's tempting. I guarantee it's tempting.
I forwarded an article to you two about the pros and cons of bringing Mahle up. You see value in both. One thing that the pitching coach in Louisville noted was his lack of a slider. And he said it's average at best. He goes, actually, it may be a little bit below average, so they'd like to see him work on that a little bit more. So, okay, if that's the case, do you bring him up and let him get shellacked, or do you stay in Louisville and just work on it? And then season's over, maybe ship him somewhere else to work on it.
I can see him taking that approach.
Does the 5-year protected start when he makes the 40-man?
Yeah, well, no, it's when I think it's service time in the majors.
So it's as soon as you come up, it's the first year.
Well, I don't. Yeah, but
I
don't know the whole
with the 40-man as well.
It may. It's service time because that's why they brought Garrett down to.
Which is, you said, that messed
and
up.
what? Yeah, he ain't been right since. And why Chris Bryant didn't start the season with the Cubs?
Right.
Was it 2 years ago or last
Yep.
year?
2 years.
2 years ago, he didn't start the season with him. So I don't know the particulars, but basically,
I wonder if it's number of days.
It might be. I think it's days and so forth. It must be tied to days. But Mahle has pitched. He's started 94 games now in his minor league career. He's got a 2.85 ERA. He's done 4 shutouts. Opponents bat 237 against him, and this year it's like 200 or better.
And one perfect game.
And one perfect game.
Yeah, those numbers aren't typical for a minor
And
league pitcher.
his WHIP numbers, walks in his by innings pitch, is only 1.1 for his whole career. And if you ever played, fantasy baseball, that's a really good number because that's a typical fantasy stat. And this year it's under 1. It's like combined this year it's 0.91. So I mean he's getting it done. The numbers are there, but they're looking at other things like you said, the slider and so forth, and they don't want to rush him. They got a bunch of other guys.
They say they don't want to rush him.
There's
They brought Castillo up from Double-A.
Well, they saw something there and thought he could handle it. I don't know. And they were right.
Maybe we can sign Dan Straley.
Maybe. We could.
I know. I'm being serious.
We could.
And this is the last year of his contract?
I think it was.
So maybe he'd love to come back to Cincinnati. He could be a 3 or 4 guy for us.
That'd be fine. Maybe a 1. It's wide open.
That's true.
There's always Scooter.
He's going to have to battle Scooter. That's
He's
right.
got to battle Scooter for the number 1
There's always
spot.
Scooter.
So we've talked about Castillo and Mahle and Senzel and Peraza. The other one is Winker. And I think you talk about Winker as a prospect. You also talk about Schebler because they're both been playing right field. And what do you and how does that play out? I mean, Winker's hitting 250. He's only had 69 plate appearances, so he hasn't played a lot. And his other numbers, his other rates and stuff are comparable and similar to Schebler. We saw Schebler can hit a lot of home runs.
You know what surprised me, and I like Price. I'm not attacking Price at all. But last year at this time, when he brought Schebler up, he said, "You're my everyday guy." Schebler struggled. He stuck with him. Beginning of the year, Schebler was down to 180 beginning of this year. And got up to probably about 262 and down to 228.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that right now he's not letting Winker bat against lefties. I'm surprised with the platoon with Kivlahan.
Yeah, because
just doesn't make
it's
sense
not like
to me.
Schebler has more experience than Winker did at the time.
Well, you
know what
did
I mean?
that for Schebler last year. Let him bat against righties and lefties. And when Schebler first started, we weren't saying, gosh, this guy's hitting better against lefties than righties. We learned that at the beginning of this year that over the past, 40 to 50 to 60 games, he's done better against lefties than righties. Mm-hmm. So that you gave him that time, you gave him the at-bats. I'm just surprised you're not doing that with Jesse Winker because Winker has a good eye.
Maybe he wants Kivlahan to play more.
Yeah, Winker's plate discipline stats are definitely better than Schebler's. Winker is it's a small sample size, but I was looking over those numbers, but he's like second only to Votto kind of on the team in a lot of the plate discipline as you look at kind of scan across the columns. And Schebler, there's only a couple guys kind of worse than him, and he's maybe, he swings at more pitches. Winker swings at fewer pitches. Better O swing and Z swing percentages.
You
get that.
Kirby. Thank you, Nick Kirby.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all those things. So Winker, we've seen more of Schebler. Winker, and Schebler did. He had the shoulder. We don't know. Is that why he was hitting so awful? Because his shoulder was bothering him. I don't know.
They said they saw him take BP last night, and that his shoulder looked much better. And you could tell in his swing.
His swing looked better. So we'll see. Maybe he'll come back on fire. Be nice.
I'll tell you what. If Billy doesn't hit, we're going to see some games with Schebler in center and Winker in right.
Exactly. And so the question going forward then, if Schebler comes back and is hitting, I think it's his job, partly because of what they're doing with Winker. Like you said, they're platooning him, not letting him bat against lefties. But what do you want? What would you prefer longer term? A guy who's going to have a better eye, or a guy who's going to, have more of the power? I mean, they're not the very same player. Schebler could become a better at the plate discipline. Winker could improve his power some. It comes down to you watch guys and, you see a guy, you're like, I kind of like that guy better than that guy because the eyeball test, right? So, you know who I like, so. Schebler needs to get back in there healthy and prove he can do it again. If he comes in and he's terrible and he has a bad spring, then you gotta make the right decision and give Winker a shot or whatever you do. But
tell you what, if there's a team that's willing to take Schebler and we can get something of value in return, I would look to pull that trade.
Of value has got to be a pitcher. You keep saying that.
Well, it does. I don't disagree with that.
So it would be more than Schebler. We'd have to give a couple Schebblers to get a decent pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of Schebler real quick, this was brought up last night. So the Reds, with Scooter hitting his 20th, now have 5 guys with 20 home runs. Third time in Reds history.
Yeah.
The Kluszewski era was one, and I forget what the other one was. But Kozart's got 16.
Yeah, I know. If he hadn't been hurt, he'd already be there probably.
And he's hitting them. If he doesn't get hurt, I would think he'll hit 4 more home runs.
Good chance.
Now, I haven't looked, but what are the stats on the last team that have 6
I don't know.
players with
You
20?
should look that up for
I
next
think
week.
I will.
Did Cozart make it through waivers? I
don't
texted you guys. Tom, I texted y'all the other night, and I
Thank you.
said on there that I still think there's a good chance that he gets traded.
Before the season ends?
Yeah,
Do you really?
because Votto made it through waivers. They put all these guys on waivers for a purpose, and if Cozart made it through waivers, and I don't think the Reds have said if he did or not, if he made it through waivers, I could see a team making a trade the next 10 days.
Could happen. You ready for throwback?
You want to do yours first, and I'll do mine?
You do yours. I'm doing it this week.
You mean
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I've got the. What do I have?
You got the stumper.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
You
ready
st-
for the throwback.
Are you over that fever you had over the weekend?
I think I am.
All right. This guy played for 12 years for the Reds from 77 to 88. Debuted at age 20. Was a 3-time All-Star. His best years with the Reds were 1983 and 1984. Any guesses?
Well, we're not supposed to guess, are we?
Yeah, you can guess. Yeah.
Isn't this the stumper?
No, this is the throwback player.
Oh, Gary Vitas.
No, I already did him. 12 years with the Reds, 77 to
It was
88.
memorable.
Debuted at age 20. He was a 3-time All-Star. His best years were 83 and 84.
We already did Eddie Milner.
Okay. He's a pitcher.
Debuted at 20 years old,
20 years old.
1977.
Yeah. He pitched for 12 years, only with the Reds. Didn't play for anybody else.
Really?
Wow.
Relief pitcher?
No, starter.
So we
Oh,
take
well,
out
get
take out
this.
Pat
I
Zachary.
am stumping
out
you
Pat
guys
Zachary.
big time.
Well, you haven't given us a lot. You just say starter.
I gave you quite a bit.
You didn't say righty or lefty.
Okay, I think he was a righty, I think. Yeah. If I tell you what number he wore, will that help you?
It might.
Number 36.
Oh,
Right-handed pitcher.
Yeah. He was second in the Cy Young voting in 1983. 14th in the MVP voting that year.
so this was a bad team back then.
He was 17 and 13.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Who is it?
Mario Soto.
Mario Soto.
Oh, well, jeez.
He was
How
17.
did I not guess that?
I don't know. You were looking for somebody even more obscure, I
Yeah.
guess. So yeah, he was top 10 in Cy Young voting every year from 80 to 84. And it said in 83 he went 17 and 13. He had 18 complete games. He had a 2.70 ERA. But John Denny was just a little better that year for the Phillies. He won like 19 games. His ERA was a little lower. And he
So,
won the Cy Young.
If I remember, didn't Soto have that really good changeup?
Yeah, he had a great change.
Circle change.
Yeah, he had
just
that was his pitch. In 84, he went 18 and 7. His ERA was a little higher, 3.53. He was 6th in the Cy Young voting. His manager those 2 years, managers, I thought, who was the manager? I couldn't remember. Russ Nixon was the manager in 83. 84 was Vern Rapp until he got let go, and Pete Rose came in at the end of the season and finished off the 84 season and then started his first full season in 85. So
What was Soto's best pitch? Remember?
we just talked about that.
we just said changeup.
No, I'm sorry. I had to. Yeah. I was making sure this was an emergency.
Oh, yeah, the
That
text.
changeup was killer.
Yeah, it was.
Circle
was.
change.
Yeah, and he was just a really terrific pitcher.
Little hothead.
A little bit, yeah, a little
We were in
hot-headed.
a brawl and there was a scrum on the mound.
Well, he
you
threw-
didn't want to be on the ground.
He
'cause
threw the
had-
ball at somebody.
And he missed the guy.
Yeah,
Fortunately.
Yeah, was that with the Pirates or the Braves?
I don't remember.
Might have
I
been the
just remember-
Braves.
I think it was the Braves. And I
Was
just remember he chucked that ball at the guy.
I can't remember who that was that charged the mound. I've seen a video replay of that in the last year or so somewhere. It popped up somewhere online. Well, we got our 2 old baseball cards here. We got Rick Monday's our first one, and these are again 76 cards. So what is the Rick Monday trivia question? Do you know? He was the first what? Do you know that?
Well, he was a Dodger outfielder,
Started
lefty,
with
right?
Cubs.
You don't know.
Number 16.
You obviously don't know.
He took the American flag from those 2 guys trying to burn it in L.A. when he was a Cubby.
Yeah. Okay. Rick was the first player chosen in baseball's first draft in 1965. So the first ever draft in 65, he was the first guy picked by the Oakland A's.
Charlie Finley?
Or the Kansas City A's, actually, I think, at that time. He played 19 seasons in the big leagues. He was a .264 career hitter, had over 1,600 hits, hit 241 homers. His best year was in 76. right here with the Cubs. This picture.
Really, I would have guessed it was with the Dodgers.
Yeah, his best statistical year, and it's one of these standing there with the bat over his shoulder post shots. Always exciting posed shots. He hit 272 that year, 32 homers, 77 RBIs. He was 30 years old, and then he ended up with the Dodgers later and was on that. I think he was on that 81 team that won the series, right? Was that 80 or 80? I forget what year.
He's left fielder.
Yeah, played left field.
Center field too.
Yeah, two-time All-Star. So I thought, who else was drafted in '65? There were 4 future Reds taken in the '65 draft, and there were 3 Hall of Famers, like baseball Hall of Famers, not Reds Hall of Famers, taken in the '65 draft.
Wow, Perez.
No,
Pete Rose.
no, they're
No,
older
Pete
than
was
that.
before.
They're older than that.
They're older than that.
Yeah.
Bernie Carbo.
And we will have our next card is Bernie Carbo, so we'll have a nice segue to
And
that.
You're asking drafted by the Reds.
Drafted by 3 of these future Reds were drafted by the Reds. One was not. One of them is a Hall of two of the future Reds on this list of these 4 are 2 of the 3 baseball Hall of Famers that were drafted in this draft. So did that make sense?
Is it too old for Joe Morgan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
Morgan was older.
Morgan's older than that. So
Really?
there were 4 future Reds drafted, 3 future Hall of Famers drafted, and 2 of those future Hall of Famers also one was drafted by the Reds, one was drafted by somebody else, and later played for the Reds.
And you said no to Perez.
I said no to Perez. Carbo was the 16th overall pick. Ray Fosse was the 7th pick in that draft by Cleveland. Carbo by the Reds at 16. The 36th pick in the second round was Johnny Bench.
In the second round?
Yeah,
How
he was
about
a
that?
second round pick. 2 picks later, the Phillies took Larry Heisel. He was a good hitter. The 53rd pick in the third round was Andy Messersmith by the
I haven't heard that
Tigers.
name in a long time.
There's a name, yeah. I remember
That was a big name in the beginning of the era of free agency.
Yeah.
About 5 years after the Kurt flood.
Yeah, because he went to the
Dodgers,
Yankees.
It was which way did he go?
I think he went from L.A. to
New York. Yeah. Ken Holtzman was also picked in the 4th round by the Cubs. Later pitched for the A's. Greg Nettles was picked in the 4th round by the Twins. Amos Otis
Amos Otis.
in the 5th round by Boston. A lot of these guys drafted by teams that they didn't really play for.
Right.
All right, in the 6th round, another future Red, not a Hall of Famer, but another future Red was drafted.
It's what, center fielder?
He's an outfielder.
I said Geronimo earlier.
No, it's not Geronimo. He played for the Reds for a while, was not an everyday player, went to the Kansas City Royals.
Hal McRae.
Hal McRae. And did he win a batting title? Or he almost
No,
won one?
there's
It was
the
like
big racial controversy, he and George Brett.
Yeah, all right, that whole thing. And Brett won it, right?
Brett won it.
Yeah. Also picked in the 6th round by the Kansas City A's was Sal Bando.
Wow.
In the 10th round, the Dodgers drafted a future Reds pitcher who went to the Hall of Fame.
Well, do you want to say Seaver?
Yeah, it's
Really?
Seaver.
The Dodgers drafted?
Dodgers drafted
Did you
Tom
say earlier
Seaver.
that 65 was the first year they had the draft period?
Yeah.
So before that, you were just signed as a
Yeah,
free
it was
agent?
all free agency. It was all.
I don't think I
Really?
knew that.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that either. There was no draft
I need to
before
listen to
65.
the show more.
You should. You should. All right, so Seaver.
I'm waiting for the 3 generations of Gilberts
Now,
to come back.
the Mets in the 12th round, the Mets drafted a future Hall of Fame pitcher,
Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan. And then other guys drafted up through the 20s. There were like 60 some rounds. Anyway, Darrell Evans, Gene Garber, Gene Tennis, Freddie Patek all were drafted.
5'4".
Yeah.
Patek.
And he was drafted by the Pirates. Ended up, of course, we know him from the Royals. So Bernie Carbo was one of those guys. So I have a Bernie Carbo card here. What did Bernie Carbo win in 1970?
Was he Rookie of the
Rookie
Year?
of the Year in the National League. Batted .310, 21 homers, 63 RBIs, played in 125 games, only had 365 at bats. So I assume he probably didn't start the season in Cincinnati. Probably came up at some point.
This is Rookie of the Year with the Reds, Bernie Carbo. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I always know him from Boston Red Sox.
Right. And what I mean, in Game 6 of the 75 World Series, what did Bernie Carbo do?
3-run jack in the 8th off Raleigh Eastwick in center field.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. I hate him.
Tied the game at 6-6.
Yeah.
And then we know what happened in the 12th. Fisk leads off and hits a home run off Pat Darcy. And
Foster caught that ball.
oh,
Off the pole?
Off the pole.
Off the pole.
Did he
Foster
really?
caught the ball.
Did he? Yeah, the Reds had built a 6-3 lead against Tion that
Yep.
game.
And we talked about this not too long ago
Yeah.
because I have the video of it,
Yeah.
and with Bench and Freddie Lynn, and how Bernie Carbo, one of Joey's inside-out swings to foul it off, almost in the mid of Bench, and somehow another Carbo got it, and it just basically went to the dugout. I mean,
To keep the bat
Eastwick
alive.
was just blowing him away, and he just got one pitch and just took it to center. He was surprised it went out. He didn't. He's running hard and looked up and saw the back of Geronimo, and looking up, and he realized it was a homer.
Well, Carbo's, after his rookie year, was by far his best year.
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff on him. I had an opportunity to interview him years ago in the early mid 90s, maybe 94, 95, something like that. And he had alcohol problems. He had all kinds of drug problems. I mean,
It's really turned his life around.
yeah, from pot to coke to all the stuff they used to put in the bowls in the locker room. You know, all the uppers
Speed,
and everything. He was a disaster. In his early 40s, tried to kill himself, and something happened. He ended up in the hospital, and a guy he was in a hospital room with started talking to him about God, and so then short story of it is that Bernie Carbo, in that time of 2 or 3 days in hospital, became a Christian and started a ministry, and so his whole life is completely different now.
And came to Cedarville, Ohio about 20 years ago and did a 3-day baseball clinic.
Did he? And that's what he was doing when I saw him. It was with the Valley League team in Newmarket, Virginia. He was doing one of those clinic things with the players and talking to them. And I think he still does it. His ministry is called the Diamond Club, and there's a website for it. I think he still speaks, and he's in his 60s now, married, living a good life now. So interesting guy who, because of his addictions, probably really ruined his career. I mean, he still had some moments like that time in the World Series, but yeah, I remember that because it's like, what? That guy used to play for us, you know?
Yeah.
I can remember my dad talking about that, and people were like, can't believe it. All right, our stumper from last week, Bucky Walters is the all-time Reds shutout leader with 32, who has the most as a Red since 1970, and he's tied for 11th all-time for the Reds with 18, including 7 in 1973 when he was 19-10 with a 3.04 ERA and was 4th in the Cy Young voting, and Tom Seaver won the Cy Young that year, and it was
Cactus Jack.
Billingham. Right. So, you guys,
Baseball has the best nicknames.
it has some good ones. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. So, Kim, what is our stumper?
Okay, this deals with an ex-Red. But what I'm about to read to you, he was not with the Reds when this happened, yet it's very newsworthy. And I think even Tom Sizer will get this, because Jeff Gilbert usually gets about everything.
I doubt it. And you guys
But Tom, and the only reason Tom doesn't always get them is because Jeff and I are older. So Tom's a younger one.
Thank you for that excuse, but I don't think that's it.
So let's talk about this. It actually occurred.
I'm only a year older than he is.
It actually occurred 35 years and 11 days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
11 days.
35 years ago.
35 years and 11 days ago, August 4th, Jeff. 82.
82. I was.
Okay. This gives you reference.
I was getting ready to start my senior year of high school.
Remember, this is an ex-Red we're talking about, but he was not with the Reds when this happened.
All right.
I hope I don't say the name as I read this.
Can I go ahead and start guessing names?
Not yet. So he starts off. He was with, and I'm giving you lots of hints.
Yeah,
okay?
just.
He was with the Mets,
All right.
playing at Wrigley Field, a day game, obviously back then, no lights. So he's in the lineup, but Frank Cashin, the GM, is looking to trade him. So Mookie Wilson the team's regular center fielder was injured. So George Bamberger, the Mets manager, what do? They huddled, they being he and Cashin, and said, okay, we're going to play this guy. We're going to take a chance that he's not going to get hurt. So he goes out, strikes out in the first, in the third, against Ferguson Jenkins, who would be a future Hall of Famer, gets a hit. The Mets have a lead. They go on to win the game. But then, shortly after that at-bat, that single, Bamberger takes him out. Well, this ex-Red goes up and says, what gives? Why are you taking me out?
I know where this is going.
He said, you got to understand, you've just been traded. So now, he said, and the team you're being traded to needs you right away. The team he's traded to is playing in Philadelphia.
I thought you were going to say it was in the other clubhouse.
Yeah.
So the team that he was playing for that night was slated to play against the Phillies at 7:30. So he runs and catches a cab. Figure, all right, this is a great opportunity for me to start playing every day. But then something happened. He realized he forgot his glove. He had that glove for many, many years. So he got the cabbie to turn around, went back and got his glove. It was a 6:05 flight from Chicago. And remember, the game was going to start in Philadelphia at about 7:30. Phones his wife, says, listen, make it out there. He gets there. His new team has his jersey ready for him. He didn't know that many players. He knew Pete from the Phillies, waved to a few other guys. He came up in the 7th inning as a pinch hitter and got a single off of another future Hall of Famer, Steve Carlton.
Okay. Yeah.
And
The
so
plot
that
thickens.
day, he got 2 hits off of 2 different Hall of Famers in 2 cities.
For
And he
2 different
had a
teams.
split in his doubleheader. 1 win, 1 loss. He went up to have a very good career against Carlton. 27 for 82 in his career with 5 homers. Against Ferguson Jenkins, 2 for 6. So over 300 against both. Our ex-Red. Our stumper of the day.
So I'll guess it when we're off the air.
So he was playing for
Started out with the Mets
the Mets
against the Cubs.
and got
Got
traded.
traded during the game.
But you didn't tell us who he got traded to.
No, because I think you already know. You already
No,
know
I don't know that I do.
I mean, he hit against the Phillies, so
And he was traded to the Montreal Expos.
And they
Oh,
put
we
him
just-
in center field.
I think we just talked about
And I
this
don't think
guy.
they put him in center field. The first game,
first
they were
game.
short on people. I think he played third base for the Mets. But the Mets were short because Mookie was hurting, so they had to put someone else in center, so they ended up putting this guy in the infield. And then traded him to Montreal, and I think he came in and played right field.
All right. Well, we'll think about it.
You think about it.
Until next week.
Until next week.
And I remembered this when it happened. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. He loved the game, had to hurry up and make it so he could play for the other team.
That's pretty cool.
And he said, the last thing I was thinking of is being traded, because not only that, it was like game 2 of a 3-game set. So you're not thinking of, after the game, getting your bag, showering, and going. You're thinking, all right, going to shower, go out and get something to eat, be done. But not for him.
Getting on a plane. Very good. Well, there's some good discussions today.
We did.
We did. We did not do an analytics, though. But join us next time. I promise we'll have an analytics segment, because I know Kim really missed it.
I learned one over the week.
You
though.
learned one over the week. Maybe we'll do that one. And maybe we'll even explore the mysteries of EDP.
Which benefited Joey last night.
Which benefited
Yes, it did.
Joey. We might do that next week. All right. Until then, go Reds.
Go Reds.
Reds.